In 1966, Australia's most infamous true crime case changed the country forever. The disappearance of the Beaumont children, Arnna, Jane, and Grant, was so shocking that parents went from letting their children roam free during daylight hours to constantly keeping an eye on them. No child was safe, not anymore, and even tight-knit communities struggled to trust one another. Almost 6 decades later, the weight of the tragic disappearance of the Beaumont children can still be felt. But first, I'd like to thank Aura for sponsoring today's episode. We cover a lot of cases here on Cold Case Detective, and sometimes the perpetrator seems to get off scot-free without ever paying for their crimes. But what if we told you that people are doing that right now to you? Those spam calls offering you the newest phone deal, or emails trying to get you to sign up for some questionable product, all stem from one initial issue: data brokers. While data brokers are legal, they are making a profit by selling your data to the highest bidder. Today's sponsor can help you fight back. Aura can identify data brokers and get them to take your name and number off the list. Not only that, Aura combines multiple services into one, and you can try them out for free for 2 weeks by using our link in the description, aura.com/coldcasedetective. It's easy to use and means you can access a VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, antivirus, and more, all for one affordable price. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping your data safe online and stop the people profiting from your personal data. Use our link down in the description to try it out today and start your 2-week free trial. Have a look and see how much of your data is out there and available on the dark web. Take control of your data with Aura. On the morning of January 26, 1966, 9-year-old Jane, 7-year-old Arnna, and 4-year-old Grant Beaumont asked their parents if they could visit Glenelg Beach. They'd gone the day before, but it was another sweltering day, and they had enjoyed themselves so much that they wanted to go again. Since it was too hot to walk, they caught the bus at 8:45 a.m. Their mother, Nancy, told them to catch the 12 p.m. bus back home, and the children agreed. But the trio never arrived back on the 12 p.m. bus, nor the 2 p.m. bus, causing Nancy to become alarmed. Their father, Jim, returned from a trip at around 3 p.m., and upon hearing that the children hadn't come home, he immediately drove to the beach, which was just a 5-minute bus journey from the family's home on Harding Street in Somerton Park, Adelaide. Jim was unable to locate the children on the crowded beach, so he returned home and together with Nancy began to search the streets, knocking on the doors of neighbors and friends. But nobody had seen Grant, Arnna, or Jane. That evening, at around 5 p.m., the couple reported the disappearance to the police. Authorities initially suspected that the children had wandered off and lost track of time. They organized searches around the beach, believing that they couldn't have gotten far. Before long, though, they realized that something more sinister was afoot, and the hunt for the Beaumont children expanded to the ocean, nearby buildings, and the sandhills. Airports and railway stations were also alerted of the disappearance, with investigators theorizing that someone may have abducted the children and was trying to get them out of the local area, or even out of the city. The unidentified prime suspect in the case is a man seen by witnesses in the company of the children. He is described as tall, with fair to light brown hair and a thin face. He was in his mid-30s at the time of the disappearance, with a thin to athletic build and a sun-tanned complexion. He was wearing swim trunks. Witnesses stated that the children were relaxing while playing and appeared comfortable and familiar with the man. He also reportedly approached one witness, claiming that the children's money was missing, and asked if anyone had seen anything or been near their belongings. He then went to get changed while the Beaumont children waited for him. At around 12:15 p.m., the group left the beach. 2.5 hours later, another witness saw the group of 4 together once more, with the man carrying a bag similar to one Jane owned. When their parents were asked what they thought about what witnesses had seen, they were baffled. Nancy described Jane in particular as being incredibly shy, and she found it odd that her eldest child was so comfortable playing in the presence of this unknown man. This led investigators to theorize that the man had met the children before, and they had grown to trust him. Notably, Arnna told Nancy in the days before they vanished that Jane, quote, got a boyfriend down at the beach. Nancy assumed Arnna was talking about a playmate her own age, and thought little of the comment at the time. Investigators learned in the days following the disappearance that the children had stopped by Wenzel's Bakery on nearby Moseley Street. The shopkeeper, who was familiar with the children as they came in often, reported that Jane had purchased pasties and a meat pie with a £1 note. This was strange because Nancy had not given Jane a £1. When she gave the children money, it was always coins. On the day of their disappearance, they had been in possession of 6 shillings and 6pence, enough to cover their bus fares and buy their lunch, and no more. The shopkeeper also noted that they had never bought a meat pie before. Authorities thought it was likely the £1 note had been given to the children by somebody else, most likely the strange man they were seen with. Another lead came on January 29th, when a woman told them that she'd talked to 3 children resembling the Beaumonts near the Patawalonga boat haven at around 7 o'clock on the evening of their disappearance. The haven was subsequently drained and searched, but no evidence was found. Months passed before another witness stepped forward. A woman claimed that on the night of the disappearance, she had seen a man with 2 girls and a boy enter a house on her street that she believed to be empty. Later, she saw the boy walking alone, but the man caught up to him and roughly grabbed him. The following morning, though, there was no activity at the house, and she never saw the group again. It is unclear why this woman didn't come forward with the information sooner, but it seems that it produced no solid leads. In November of 1966, just months after the children vanished, Dutch psychic Gerard Croce was brought to Australia to assist in the search. Unsurprisingly, his endeavour to push the case forward failed. He reportedly changed his story on the daily, and he offered the police no solid clues or evidence. He claimed that a spot at a warehouse near the children's home was where they were buried, and though the owners of the property were reluctant to excavate, they were able to raise $40,000 to have the building demolished. But a search soon turned up nothing. No human remains and no belongings of the children. The property would be searched again in 1996, but once more, nothing was found. Over the next year, sightings of the children were reported across the country, but none were confirmed by police. In 1968, 2 years after the children went missing, their parents, Nancy and Jim, received 2 letters. One was purportedly written by their eldest, Jane, while another was written by a man who claimed he'd appointed himself the children's guardian. Then envelopes were postmarked in Dandenong, Victoria, and the man claimed he was willing to return the children, suggesting a time and place for them to meet. The letters that were supposedly from Jane noted nothing alarming, instead describing a fairly normal life. Authorities believed that the letters were authentic after they compared them with notes written by Jane before she went missing. They decided to have Jim and Nancy meet the man, sending a detective after them. However, nobody appeared. A new letter soon arrived, supposedly from Jane again. She wrote that the man had decided to keep them because her parents had betrayed the man's trust by bringing a disguised detective with them to the meeting. No more letters appeared after that point, but in 1992, a forensic examination revealed that the letters were a hoax. Fingerprints led investigators to a 41-year-old man who was a teenager at the time and had written the letters as a joke. He was not charged with any crime due to the amount of time that had passed. Though the man seen with the children on the day of their disappearance has never been positively identified, there have been many, many notable suspects in the case over the years. In 1984, Bevan Spencer von Einem was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of teenager Richard Kelvin. Investigators believed that he had accomplices and was possibly involved in further violent crimes, but he has refused to cooperate with investigators regarding those possible connections. As authorities looked into von Einem, they were approached by an informant identified only as Mr. B. Mr. B claimed that he had a conversation with the killer in which he bragged about abducting 3 children from a beach and then taking them home to conduct experiments on them. Von Einem reportedly added that he'd performed brilliant surgery on each of them and had, quote, connected them up. One of the children died during the procedure, however, which led him to kill the other 2 and dispose of their bodies in bushland south of Adelaide. Before this time, investigators had not suspected von Einem of being involved in the case of the Beaumont children, though it was noted he resembled the e-fits made of the killer back then and also matched descriptions given by witnesses. Von Einem also, according to Mr. B, indicated that he had been involved in the 1973 Adelaide Oval abductions, a name given to the disappearances of 11-year-old Joanne Ratcliffe and 4-year-old Kirsty Gordon, who vanished when they went to the toilets together during a football match held at the Adelaide Oval Sports Ground. We have covered the Adelaide Oval abductions in a previous episode, and both cases share many of the same suspects. While Mr. B is considered by police to be a reliable source, as he was able to help provide important information during the investigation into the murder of Richard Kelvin, his allegations about von Einem's connections to the Beaumont children and the Adelaide Oval case were not deemed to be completely trustworthy. Details relayed by Mr. B did not fit known facts about the Beaumont case. Investigators noted that while von Einem frequently visited Glenelg Beach to peep on the changing rooms and was known to have a preoccupation with children, he is also much younger than the man described with the children that day. He was in his early 20s at the time of the disappearance, and the children themselves were considerably younger than von Einem's usual victims. He generally targeted young men in their teens and 20s. Another suspect in the case, as well as in the case of the Adelaide Oval abductions, is Arthur Stanley Brown, who died in 2002. In 1998, Brown was charged with the murders of Judith and Susan McKay in Townsville, Queensland. They vanished on August 26, 1970, while making their way to school. Just days after they went missing, their bodies were found in a dry creek bed, having been strangled to death. Brown's trial was scheduled for 2000, but was delayed when his lawyer noted he was unfit for trial. He was never retried due to a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Brown has been accused of sexual assault on various occasions, with his own wife, Hester Porter, confessing to her sister that she was afraid of him. Hester informed her sister that she once caught Brown molesting a child and was aware that he appeared to have a sexual interest in young girls. Several more relatives of Hester came forward in the 1980s, noting that they had been abused as children by Brown. Hester died in 1978. She was bedridden due to arthritis, and while he claimed that she had fallen and hit her head, many relatives believe Brown killed her. Notably, he married Hester's younger sister later that same year. Brown is observed as having a strong resemblance to the e-fit made of the suspect in both cases, though he would have been much older than the man seen with the Beaumont children, as he was 53 in 1966. While investigators attempted to track Brown's movements in the 1960s, they were unable to ascertain where he was, as his employment records were non-existent around that time. Investigators noted that the records may have been lost in the 1974 Brisbane flood, or that Brown destroyed his own files as he worked for the Queensland Department of Public Works and had access to government buildings. The third suspect in the case of the Beaumont children is convicted child murderer Derek Percy, who died in 2013. Percy was suggested as a suspect in 2007 by Melbourne newspaper The Age. In 1969, following the murder of Yvonne Toohey, he entered an insanity plea, partly due to the fact that he was suffering from a condition that stopped him from remembering the exact details of his actions. He allegedly indicated that he may have also killed the Beaumont children in 1966, but he could not remember due to this condition. In 2007, Victoria police questioned Percy in connection with the case. Investigators noted that he would only have been 17 at the time, far too young to match the description of the man seen with the children on the day of their disappearance. It was also unclear if he had access to a car at that time, as police believe the suspect would have had one to get away from the area and later dispose of the bodies. It's unclear if Percy is still considered a suspect in the case. Another suspect was a businessman named Alan Anthony Monroe. Monroe was brought to the attention of police by Alan McIntyre, who himself had been questioned in connection with the Beaumont case. McIntyre told the Adelaide Advertiser that Monroe, who was not identified at the time, had come by McIntyre's house in 1966 with the bodies of the Beaumont children in the trunk of his car. Monroe was a scoutmaster who'd pled guilty to 10 child sex offences dating back to 1962, and according to McIntyre, was wanted in the 1960s in Southeast Asia for other child abuse offences. After pleading guilty to his crimes, he was given 10 years in prison with a non-parole period of 5 years and 5 months. Decades later, in June 2017, investigators received a copy of a child's diary dated 1966. The writer of the diary noted that Monroe was in the Glenelg Beach area at the time of the children's disappearance. Though Monroe was investigated in connection with the case, authorities have found no evidence he was involved. Then, in 2013, the final suspect in the case came to light following the publication of the book The Satin Man, uncovering the mystery of the missing Beaumont children. Though he was not identified in the book, the Satin Man is now known to be Harry Phipps, a factory owner who died in 2004. Phipps was a member of Adelaide's social elite during the 1960s, and his name was made public by his estranged son shortly after The Satin Man was published. Not only does Phipps resemble the e-fit made of the man seen with the children on the day of their disappearance, he was also very wealthy and had a habit of giving out £1 notes. Furthermore, in 1966, he lived just 250 meters away from the beach. Phipps's estranged son, Hayden, came forward in 2007. He was 15 in 1966 and distinctly remembered seeing the Beaumont children playing in his father's back garden. Allegations of Phipps being a paedophile only came to light in later years, with his own son Hayden being one of his victims. However, one of Phipps's other sons, Wayne, has spoken out against his brother and allegations that his father was a murderous child abuser. He claimed that Hayden, who died in 2016, had made up the allegations due to mental health issues, stating, quote, "This is wrong. It's hurting those I care about and the memory of those I cared about. We loved Harry and believe in his innocence." Reporter Frank Pangello told CNN, quote, "Harry Phipps wasn't the archetypal predator. He was a well-to-do man. He had a lot of respect in the community, ran a successful business, and was a captain of industry. There wouldn't have been any reason for him to be a suspect." Still, police found the information provided by Hayden and the book The Silk Man to be credible, especially when 2 men came forward to claim that, as boys, Phipps had paid them to dig a hole in his factory yard on the weekend of the children's disappearance. He never told them what the 2 by 1 by 2 meter hole was for. In November 2013, a 1 meter squared section of Phipps's former factory was excavated. A ground-penetrating radar noticed one minor anomaly, but a further investigation of the site, which was dug up, revealed no new evidence or indications that the Beaumont children had been buried there. Another excavation was carried out in 2018, and while bones were found, they were determined to belong to an animal. Chief Superintendent Des Bray told reporters, quote, "I can confirm that we have searched the areas of interest and reached the bottom of those areas and gone well below so that we can be 100% certain. I can confirm we have found bones of various animals, but there has been nothing human located on the site. Sadly, this means for the Beaumont family that we still have no answers, but we will always do anything humanly possible to locate the Beaumont children and take them home to their family. The case of the missing Beaumont children resulted in one of the largest police investigations in Australian history and deeply affected parents across the country. During the 60s, it was common for children to roam free, navigating public transport and visiting public spaces by themselves. But the Beaumont case changed everything, especially since it occurred so soon after the 1965 Wanda Beach murders, in which two teenage girls, Marianne Schmidt and Christine Sharrock, were killed. Following the disappearance of Jane, Arnna, and Grant, their parents remained at their Somerton Park home for years. They hoped that one day the trio would find their way back home. Nancy even reportedly kept their bedroom exactly as it was the day they set off for Glenelg Beach on January 26, 1966. Nancy told reporters in the months following the disappearances, "I don't think they're alive, but I haven't lost hope, and all I want is that they come back." The following year, however, she seemed more optimistic about the case. Speaking in February 1967, she told a reporter at Australia's Daily Telegraph, "The longer this goes on, the more confident I feel that they are still alive. Do you know, I dreamed about them last night. I don't usually dream. In fact, this is the first real dream I've had since the children went. But last night I dreamed I heard a knock on the back door. It was the children. They said, 'Hello, Mum.' The only thing I said was, 'Where have you been?' They were standing in the back lobby. I cried and felt them all over. Do you know, it's the first dream I've had." As of 2023, the case remains unsolved. There have been no new developments since Phipps's factory yard was dug up in 2018. Police Commissioner Grant Stevens noted that there is less likelihood of solving the case with every year that passes, adding, quote, "The reality is, the quality of forensic evidence that was collected at that time when the children went missing, as well as the memory of witnesses and witnesses having passed away, all of these factors contribute to greater difficulties in resolving that particular investigation." However, he was quick to add that the case remains open and any new information brought forward will be thoroughly investigated. Tragically, Nancy and Jim are now both deceased. Nancy died in a nursing home in Adelaide on September 16, 2019, aged 92. Jim died on April 9, 2023, aged 97. A reward of up to $1 million is available in the case for anyone with information leading to the conviction of the children's abductor. If you have any information about the disappearance of Jane, Arnna, and Grant Beaumont, you can contact Crime Stoppers on 1-800-333-000. And there you have the facts. Please leave a comment down below with your own theories and speculations, and remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.